I'm Ryan Anastasio, and you are watching Raving Ryan. Welcome to Raving Ryan. I'm your host, Ryan Anastasio here. This is an interview show. We'll be interviewing various politicians and many other people. Right here I have representative from the 114th District and House Minority Leader, Themis Klarides. Themis, how are you?
Good, and you pronounced my name properly, so you're way ahead of the game from all the other leaders in Connecticut.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the House Minority Leader, which means I am the person that's in charge of all the Republicans in the House. And I am the first woman ever in the history of Connecticut to be the House Minority Leader. So I'm very proud of that. I'm a lawyer by trade, so I practice law a little bit, but I do politics more right now.
Okay, so when did you initially start pursuing a career in politics and law?
Well, as far as law, I just always had an interest in it, and when I was in high school, I was on student government and National Honor Society and that kind of thing, and in college. And I just always had interest in law, but I didn't necessarily know I wanted to run for politics. I'm still trying to figure out when I started to pursue a career in politics. It seemed like it happened. But I decided to run for this seat 17 years ago now, and as a state representative, and I just really enjoyed it, and I love the fact that I can help people.
Okay, now we're going to move into and talk about some questions. So debt has been a huge topic for the past year. The U.S. alone has over $18 trillion in debt. Connecticut contributes around 3% of that. Senator Marco Rubio said, "We are about to leave our children with $18 trillion in debt, and they're about to raise the debt." Representative, how can both our state and nation get out of this enormous debt?
Well, I can speak to how the state can get out of it. We just finished writing a budget for the next 2 years, and we have over a $2 billion deficit, almost a $3 billion deficit, and we're looking towards a $2 billion deficit in the next 2 years. The only way to do that is to become more fiscally responsible by spending less and consolidating and coming up with new ideas as to how we fix the problems we have.
You and Dan Malloy have had some clashes in the past. Once the governor called Republicans racist because they didn't agree with his ideas. You have previously called him a bully and he has no respect for Republicans. You also said, "This is a man that will call you every name in the book in hope of beating you down." Do you think the governor has the right to say this to you and your colleagues?
Well, certainly he can say what he wants to say, but as with any bully, whether it's the governor of a state or somebody in your 8th grade class, what's the big deal with a bully? You have to stand up to a bully, and then they don't do it anymore. And so standing up to him is what makes him back down a little bit. I don't think I necessarily said he doesn't have respect for Republicans. He doesn't have respect for people in general. Now, I have gotten along with him on many occasions and many conversations, and when he's wrong, I will tell him he's wrong, because that's my job. But he's my favorite sparring partner.
Okay, it has been the news lately that General Electric may be moving out of the state. What can our state do to keep General Electric and many other businesses from relocating out of the state?
Well, I was down there a few weeks ago meeting with the heads of General Electric with some of my colleagues. And the answer, Ryan, is not what to do to keep General Electric or Aetna or Travelers here. It's what to do to make the state more business friendly. We are consistently in the bottom 5, between 45 and 50, and oftentimes 50, in the most business unfriendly state surveys. And those aren't political surveys, those are just which state has less regulation, which state makes it difficult to open businesses. And so, interestingly enough, last night I was doing a business forum in one of my towns, and I was telling them that most business owners tell me the same thing. We don't even need you to help us at this point, meaning state government, just get out of our way. And that's the best thing we can do to help business across the board, not just one after the other. Because what we do a lot of times is GE will complain, or Joe's Donut Shop will complain, or individual people will complain, and we want to help them, so we try and fix their problem. But you know what happens? Next year there's the same problem.
Okay, so now let's move on. Republicans lead the first selectmen and mayors, but they do not lead in the House. What can we do to boost Republicans in the House and maybe win the governor's spot?
Well, we had 2 Republican governors for 20 years until Dan Malloy won the first time. And we have approximately 94 mayors and first selectmen, as you mentioned, out of 169. So that's a good majority. But we haven't controlled the House or the Senate in many years. In fact, I think 32 of the last 40 years, give or take, the Democrats have been controlling the legislature. So when you hear the governor talk about the fact that he inherited all these problems, what he fails to mention to you is the Democrats have been controlling the House and Senate for the most of the time in the past 40 years. What we can do and what we have done is we have 64 House Republicans right now. That's 12 away from a majority, and that's the most we've had in 20 years. We beat 11 Democrats last fall. We went from 37 members to 64 members in the last 3 election cycles. People are starting to pay attention and listen. Listen to the message of you have to have a common sense approach to government. You have to do what your parents do in their homes, what people that are watching do in their small businesses. We have to do more of in Connecticut, and that's how we win more seats.
It's apparent to me by reducing spending the state may not have to raise tax rates. Do you think this is a way to reduce the people moving out of the state?
Well, certainly people are moving out of the state because this is a difficult place to live, and it has been for a while now. So reducing spending is absolutely one way to do it, but the deficit has gotten so big at this point that that's not enough, because if you just cut to make sure your budget balances, a lot of groups will be hurt that don't have to. For example, the governor made decisions 2 weeks ago on hospitals and the developmentally disabled people, and those aren't the people you go to cut first, right? Because those are the people that need our help the most. So what you have to do is kind of think out of the box, meaning we came up this year, the House and Senate Republicans, with a different formula to tax hospitals, so they're not burdened as much and we can sustain it in the long run. It's not about, remember, fixing it for this year, because next year the problem's going to come back again. You can't fix it piecemeal. You have to fix it, so it's sustainable. Come up with a transportation plan. The governor put together, a $100 billion transportation plan. Well, that would be great if we had $100 billion. But we don't even have enough money to balance our budget, so I don't think that should be a suggestion. What we came up with is a $600 million transportation plan, helping people move forward, taking care of the bridges that aren't in good repair, expanding roads when we can, and we can afford it. It's all about affordability. We want to do things to help all these groups, but we want to do it in an affordable way. And that's how you get people to stay in Connecticut and come back, move into Connecticut, because it's a beautiful place to live, right?
Yeah.
It's in between New York and Boston. It's got great seasons, although I'm not a big fan of the winter season, but it's a beautiful place to live. It's just not affordable anymore. And you have people stay here by making it more affordable.
And also, do you think we can get more jobs in here so maybe more people move in?
Well, how do you get more jobs? You allow businesses to do well.
Yeah.
Right? Because unless your business isn't doing well, you're not going to put more jobs. So every year we get a bill in the legislature and on the top of it, the name of it is jobs. As if somehow we can snap our finger and make jobs. We can't. But what we can do is, going back to our other conversation, get out of business's way. Do things to help them instead of hurt them, and not put every roadblock in the way to stop them from being successful. Because the more successful each business is, whether it's the tailor down the street or GE, right? It doesn't matter what size your business is. You're going to have employees. You're going to put more money into the economy. And that's how you let them become successful, and therefore they hire more people, and more people have jobs, and it all trickles down from that. It really seems simple, but our government hasn't seemed to have figured that out yet.
Okay, so we all know that the 2016 president GOP race has started up and is getting lots of publicity. There are so many good candidates out there. Is there any candidate out there that you think can lead this country successfully?
Well, listen, I think most of them, not all of them, but I think most of them have very good qualities and make a very good argument. I like Carly Fiorina. I like her a lot. I think she has great business experience, and I like the idea of a woman. Because I think women deal with things in a different way. They problem solve in a different way. But, I like Marco Rubio. I like Chris Christie a lot. I like Jeb Bush a lot. I even like John Kasich. I like him a lot. And I hadn't really known that much about him until the first debate. So I think that there are really good people up there. But what we're going to have to do, and the most important thing we have to do, is whoever the nominee is, we have to all get behind that person.
Okay, do you like any of the traits of any of the candidates?
Of course I do. I love the fact that Donald Trump is outspoken, but I don't like the fact that he's rude. I think Carly Fiorina is very outspoken, but I like the fact that she's diplomatic. I love Marco Rubio's background and experience. I like his family story. I like Jeb Bush has, did very well when he was governor of Florida, and that's a huge state. So I think, I don't think almost anybody runs for office. You couldn't pick at least one trait or quality about them that you like or admire. It's just having enough of them in one person.
Okay, so we have a lot of people that have no political experience, like Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, and Ben Carson. Do you think that somebody needs political experience to be the president?
I really don't. But what I think you need is you need to have common sense. Okay, you need to have common sense, and you need to understand what you don't know. Because all of us that run for office, everybody has an ego to a certain extent, but you need to know what you don't know. I certainly know a lot of things, but there are a lot of things I don't know. So I make sure that people are around me who know things that I don't know. And I make sure people are around me who will be honest with me, that tell me, you did a great job today, or will tell me, you could have done better. Here's what I think. So I think Ben Carson is great. Do I think he would be a worse president than Jeb Bush would be because Jeb Bush has a lot of experience? I really don't, as long as he's smart enough to know what he doesn't know. I mean, when everybody loves Ronald Reagan, he's one of our greatest presidents. I think we all agree on that point. But when he ran for governor of California, he had no political experience, right? But he built it up. He put a great cabinet around him. He knows how to talk to people. He's a good listener. Those are the qualities you need to have. Because if any one of us that's in a leadership position for any reason thinks that we're going to know everything about every subject that comes up, we're just fooling ourselves, because there's a different subject that comes up every day, and that's a great part of this job. But it's also a little intimidating because you don't know everything.
Okay, this past summer, Connecticut had just abolished the death penalty for inmates on death row. This was a tough decision for lawmakers to make. Did you agree with the decision to abolish the death penalty?
I did not vote to abolish the death penalty. I believe in it. I agree that the death penalty, the way we had it, people say it's not workable, and what they mean by that is nobody ever gets executed. We only executed one person in 2005, and that was, I think, in all of New England in 40 years. So it would take years and years and years, 25, 30, 35 years for somebody on death row to actually get to the point where they're executed. Now, let me say this. I don't take it lightly. I think it's a very, very serious situation, but I would support the death penalty now more than I would have 50 years ago if I were around then, because now we have DNA evidence. So the chances of saying somebody did something that they didn't do is almost not a possibility at this point. And I'm sorry, I think if somebody kills a family like they did in the terrible Cheshire tragedy, and you know they did it, there's no confusion that they did it. I just believe there's a certain level above which those people stand that other people don't.
Okay, so some people say that they have learned in prison, that they think that they should just get life for life in jail. Do you think that they should get life? Anybody that has learned and they think they've improved?
Well, listen, we have many different statutes. Okay, there are many people. Those are capital felonies where you either go to jail for life without a possibility of parole or the death penalty. So now we took death penalty off the table. I don't know how many people that are charged and convicted of a capital felony, meaning they're going to be there for the rest of their lives no matter what, will sit there and say that how much they've learned or haven't learned. I mean, they don't have a choice at this point. They're there forever. But I certainly believe in rehabilitation. But there's murders, and then there's the murders that are in the capital felony category, right? I mean, if somebody kills somebody, they can go to jail for 20 years or 30 years, but they have a chance of parole. But remember, we're only talking about the ones that have no chance of parole, because the crime they committed is so heinous. It is way above anything in our society that we find socially acceptable, that you can't. The reason why it's capital and the reason why you have no chance of parole is because people don't believe you can be rehabilitated.
Okay, so now let's move into schools. Just this past week, there was a school shooting in Oregon at a community college. What can our state do so nothing like Sandy Hook or any of that will ever happen again?
Right, and that's, I think, a question we've all asked ourselves time and time again, and I don't think there's an answer to that, and I'll tell you why. Well, there is an answer, but let me start from the beginning. When Adam Lanza in Sandy Hook tried to buy guns, he was not allowed to buy guns because our state laws worked. So the laws we had at the time, and I think before Sandy Hook and when it occurred, we had either the third or the fourth strongest gun laws in the United States at that time. Now we have the number 1. But at the time we had 3 or 4, so it's not like we were 25. Our laws work. The problem with our laws and where we have to improve is in the area of mental health. Putting money into identifying it, what we do once we identify it. Adam Lanza was identified as having mental health issues, and nothing was done about that. Now, the state can do an awful lot, and I think we need to do more, and I think we need to focus more on mental health. But, parents have to do their part too. And when you have parents and when you have the state working together, that's how we fix those problems.
And do you think maybe we can just make guns illegal for anybody besides federal? Do you think that would solve it?
No, because I think it's like drugs, right? Drugs are illegal.
Yeah.
Has that stopped people from using them?
No.
In fact, I think we have the highest drug abuse rates we've ever had. I don't think it's like when you're a little kid, mom says you can't have candy. Somehow you're going to get candy. If you're never allowed to have candy when you're with your parents, you're going to get it at school, or you're going to get it from your friends. Telling people they can't do something is not the answer unless it's something so wrong and so bad we have to really ban it. But putting strong parameters on it, like the laws that we have now, that's very important to do, and I agree with those.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you some questions about your everyday life and hobbies. So there are a lot of great books out there, but which one is your all-time favorite?
It's hard to say, but I think I still stick with Catcher in the Rye from when I was younger. But right now I kind of like, when I read for personal interest, I like Jackie Collins books. I like books that have no actual intellectual effect on me at all, because all day long all I do is read important documents and legal documents, and I love my job, but sometimes you need to take a break.
Yeah, is there any newspaper you like to read, or?
What do I read every day? I mean, at some point in the day, I have to read a lot of media things.
Yeah.
The New York Register, the Connecticut Post, the Hartford Courant, the Wall Street Journal. If I have to, the New York Times. I always have to look at the sports page in the New York Post. But we have certain websites that, put everything together politically. So I'm lucky that my office puts it all together, so I get to read the clips all at once from all the different papers around the state.
Okay, there are a lot of great pizza places in the state, but which one is your favorite?
Well, my favorite has always been Sally's, but I have to also say it's Roseland because it's in one of the towns I represent. But I would never say no to either one of them because pizza is my favorite food ever, so I think I could eat it every day.
Any pizza places in Woodbridge you like?
You're going to put me on the spot now? Really? Any pizza place in Woodbridge, I would eat pizza there.
Okay, so you love pizza.
Love pizza.
Okay, so I've heard you're a big fan of television. What TV shows are you watching now?
Let's see. Well, I DVR everything because obviously I'm really never home when the show's are on. But I love Scandal, and I love There's a Republican President, for a change.
So you like the drama shows?
Oh, no, I like comedies, so I like Mike and Molly. I love, I watch Blue Bloods and Hawaii Five-0. I like Madam Secretary and The Good Wife, which a lot of those are obviously have political, connotations and political subject matter, but I just like them because I like them. Law and Order.
Yeah.
SVU.
Okay, so our next election for governor will be in 2018. Have you ever thought about running for Connecticut's top office?
Oh, that's crazy. Crazy talk. No, well, right now I'm totally focused on being the best House Republican leader I can be, and when the time comes to think about that, then I'll think about it.
Okay, as we close up, anything else you want to say?
Now, I want to tell you guys that I think it's wonderful that at your age you're so involved in this and so good. You're a better interviewer than half the people that interview me at all the TV stations, so I think they're going to have a lot of competition on their hands in a few years.
Well, it's been great having you on the show. That's it for House Minority Leader Themis Klarides. As we close up, I would like to thank my behind-the-scenes partner, Sam, for all of his hard work. Goodbye, and see you next time on Raving Ryan. Well, thank you for watching our awesome video. I hope you liked the interview. Tell us what you think. Comment below. And also, subscribe. And follow us on Instagram at RavingRyan1. Thank you for joining us.